You joined us for Reign of Blood, and together we made it rain bigger and better than we could have ever imagined. So now, join us for a second blazing inferno of knowledge and exploration. You're listening to Reign of Fire, the scorching sequel event to Reign of Blood, where we're going to delve into the world of fireplay education and safety as we prepare for the upcoming Reign of Fire event. Join your host, Miss Kitten, Radically Dark, and Ember Solaris as we ignite your curiosity and stoke the flames of passion with discussions, interviews, and authentic insights from around the globe. Together, we're three flames united in one mission to make quality kink education more accessible and open pathways to conversation and connection about edgeplay topics around the world. But before we dive into these sizzling topics, a content warning. Reign of Fire discusses mature themes, explicit content, and practices related to BDSM and fireplay. So listener discretion is advised, and this is an adult-only podcast. Other topics may include mental health, trauma, consent, and more. So please be sure you're in a good spot to engage in these topics before continuing to listen. So, grab your fire gear, stoke the flames of curiosity, and let's embark on this crackling journey together. Welcome to Reign of Fire.
Welcome to our final Reign of Fire panel. We're super excited to have you today. Today we are having our Bipoc AANHPI Plus panel. This is specifically for the world majority or people of color of various identities and parts from around the world. So with us today are several individuals who have multiple different identities and are fire lovers of various experience levels and various types. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and we will get started. So let's see here. Let me get my little outline. So welcome to the Reign of Fire Virtual Fire event. This is a fire-specific educational festival. I am Ember Solaris, and I am thrilled to be your facilitator for today, where we will be exploring the exciting world of fireplay with our panel of experienced fire enthusiasts. Before we begin, I'd like to extend a warm welcome and thank you to everyone who is joining us today. Whether you're a seasoned fire performer or a curious newbie, are simply interested in learning more about this dynamic aspect of BDSM. For those of you who may be unfamiliar, Reign of Fire is a unique platform that provides a safe and inclusive space for education and exploration within the realm of fireplay. Our festival features live classes, Q&A panels, vendors, and on-demand class material. All designed to deepen your understanding and elevate your skills in this specialized area of kink. So a quick note about today's session. This webinar is being recorded to ensure that those who couldn't join us live can still benefit from the valuable insights shared by our panelists. And of course, rest assured, your privacy is of the utmost importance to us. You can change your display name to something that's unidentifiable. And your microphones and cameras are off by default. You can also use the Q&A and chat function as well as the reaction function to engage with our panelists. Throughout the panel, we'll have the opportunity to learn from our esteemed panelists as they share their expertise, personal experiences, and practical tips on a variety of topics related to fireplay, from safety protocols and risk management to exploring different tools and techniques. Our panelists are here to provide valuable insights and to answer your burning questions. If you feel so inclined, we are also accepting donations to compensate our panelists today. You can find the donation link in the chat as well. Before we ignite our discussion, I want to encourage all participants to actively engage in the conversation. So whether you have a burning question for our panelists or you just want to share your own fiery experiences and perspectives, your input is invaluable. And we appreciate your participation. So without further ado, we will go ahead and introduce our panelists for today. Let's see here. All right. Is there anyone who would like to go first, or am I just gonna start picking? we'll go with volunteers instead of victims first. Let's see, first person on my screen is Daddy Blackhammer. Would you like to go first and introduce yourself?
Sure, why not? So I'm Daddy Blackhammer. I've been doing wax for 5+ years. Was making my own wax for 4 years now. I've been doing other fire play for slightly less than that. Other than that, I've been in kink for like 15+ years. That's just a little bit about me. I'm up in the Northeast in Maine, so a very cool, quiet place to be for kink. But I mean, we have fun here still.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. All right, Dominus J.
Hi, how you doing? I'm Dominus J. J, just the letter for those who are aware of me. I have been in kink for 15+ years. I'm a predominant fire player within the New Jersey, PA, and Delaware community. I am an educator of the fire arts and the fire flow arts. I'm also an educator when it comes to consent and relationship and negotiations as well. I started my fire passion many years ago through a mentor who introduced me to fire, and I actually wanted to be a part of it because it excited me. It is my medium. It is how I express myself energetically. So it's something that I have a true passion for, and I do my best to try and portray and give that passion to others.
Thank you so much. And for those listening in, be sure to take a look at Dominus J on the tops panel that he joined us in on, and his partner joined us for the bottoms panel. And they also graciously offered a class for the on-demand material, and will be teaching several classes for the live Reign of Fire event. So a wealth of knowledge there available from some very passionate and knowledgeable fire players. Super excited about that. Thank you so much for both of you. It's just been fantastic getting to know you.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Of course. Valkyrie, your turn next.
Hello. I am Valkyrie, and I have been in kink. I wouldn't say I'm seasoned, not in any shape or form. I dropped onto the scene about 8 years ago. I am in Middle England in the UK. So it's early evening for us here. So yeah, I got into fire play by speaking to a munch leader for the first munch I attended, and he was very much into fire, and we got talking, and it very much intrigued me, and I thought, oh, maybe I could try that at some point. It looks interesting, but it seemed dangerous. So I thought, maybe do some research, and in the typical neuro spicy head of mine, I went into hyperfocus, reading up and watching everything. So yeah, I've been enjoying regularly bottoming for fire now for about 3 years. But I have regular tops. I'm still quite reticent about just jumping in. I have people I trust who I know have the right skill, knowledge, to be able to, like, be in control when I'm all subspaced out. I also do a lot of wax play, and unlike fire, I also top for wax. I got into it a couple of years ago and rather enjoy it. And my partner is just one of those, I want. I'm like, okay, I'll I'll indulge. So I do enjoy a lot of the wax side of it as well.
Fantastic. Love both of those. And again, I know you said London, but I have to ask where else that lovely accent is from.
So I was born in Africa, and I moved to the UK in my early teens, and I lived in the north of the country for about 10 years. And then I moved further south. And so all the places I've lived between Yorkshire and when I moved, I think the furthest south I've lived is Uxbridge, just outside London, has created a mishmash of my accent.
It's beautiful. I love it. I could listen
Thank
to it
you.
all day. Thank you so much. All right. Lady Fire Rose, you are up on my screen next.
Hello, thank you for having us. So, try to introduce myself. Hopefully, this is not too long. So, I'm Lady Fire Rose. You can call me Rose. I'm a female dom and New York-based impact and fire top with the Asian heritage. So I thrive in exploring the dominance through impact play and fire play, and recently exploring the edge and fear play. I have the reputation as a whimsical sadist, a weak angel, and the sweetest sadist. So yes, so my Asian a little bit cover up my sadist side, so it's luring some the masochist people. So my fire journey, my first time saw the fire play is from the workshop in Pennsylvania. It's by Pyro Sadist. It was very intriguing me, like, what is that? You know, I'm so very new. That's my first workshop in the kink. And then after I found there's a great fire player in New York, Shermy and Bruce. I reach out to them and they embrace me, teach me, and train me to be a good fire play, especially when they really highlight the priority of safety and consent, as well the fire play that authentic with our personality. So I've been actively learning, probably from you guys. Maybe I was the youngest one for this journey, but I'm taking many courses, workshop, and connect with other seasoned fire player. And that's how I know some people here, like Jay and Scorpion RB.
I
Thank you.
love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate you introducing yourself. You also have a lovely accent. I know I said earlier that you don't actually have an accent. I take that back. I can hear a little bit of it now. Okay, Scorpiana, it is your turn next.
Hello, everyone. My name is Scorpiana RB. My entry into the kink scene was in 2015, and I fell in love with fire as a bottom first, thanks to people like Dominus J. And then from there, later on, I ended up exploring wax play as a bottom and have now transitioned into topping and all the things because I'm the switchiest of switches.
I love it. Fantastic. I've seen a little bit of your work, I think, on FetLife, and I have loved what I've seen. I think when we first pulled together this this panel, I believe you were on like my dream list of people for this panel.
Oh, now I'm blushing.
I think I messaged you, like you were like one of the first people I messaged. It probably went to your request inbox or something. My messages often do, but we are super happy to have all of you here and really appreciate and admire each of you for taking the time to join us. I know our BIPOC panel for Reign of Blood was very well received and very powerful, and we received dozens of messages from people around the world saying that it was one of the first times that they had felt seen and had felt represented within the community to that degree. So we really wanted to bring that back for Fire. And we really appreciate you all lending your voices to try to recreate that experience here today. So let's go ahead and move on to some of the questions. I figured we'd start with some fun questions. Again, you can use the raise your hand function. You can leave your cameras off or you can turn them on. And again, just as a reminder for our guests, you can use the Q&A function and the reaction function to interact with our panelists. You can also, again, ask questions in the Q&A. So what is a particularly interesting fireplace scene that you're looking forward to? Either in the future, or we'll say past as well. Valkyrie, I see your hand shooting up. We'll go Valkyrie, then Dominus J.
Thank you. So next week, here in the UK, we have something called Kinky Camping, where we go away for about 5 days, and it's like a private estate with a lot of land and trees, and basically in the middle of nowhere. And I have managed to arrange for a fire scene in the woods at night. I think for me, the isolation and just being in nature is something that I'm looking forward to enjoying anyway. But having a fire scene in the middle of the woods is actually something I'm looking forward to. So fingers crossed I can, get our schedules aligned. I am actually looking forward to experiencing fire in the woods and just that sereneness of it all.
I love it. That sounds beautiful. Oh, nice. So nice. Thank you. Dominus J, your turn.
Yes. So fire scenes are actually something that I really love taking the opportunity to create. I want them to always be interesting and unique. One of my most favorite fire scenes that I talked about in the last panel was with members of my actual House Blackfire. We were able to get 5 members of our house together at the same time and have 5 bottoms, and we all co-topped all of those bottoms together. We put it together in a giant diamond formation, and we were in the outer circle where the bottoms were in the inner circle on tables. And every 30 to 40 seconds, we just traded off, in a sense, a bottom, moving throughout the entire hour that we did it to music. It was a great testament to us as fire players and our ability to just merge our energies together and to flow together and to be able to anticipate each other and to work together. My scene that I'd like to do in the future is to recreate something similar to that, but I'd like to actually incorporate 3 fire tops and actually be able to integrate switches into the scene as well. So we do have a couple of fire players that are absolute switches within House Blackfire. So we want to give them the ultimate experience of a scene, to be part of a scene and to be the one doing the scene as well. So that is something that we're going to be planning to do in the very near future, and that is just going to be that apple in the feather in my cap as far as my scenes that I'm looking forward to creating.
I love it. That's gonna be fantastic. I hope you end up getting that on film, because I kind of want to see that.
As do we all. Yes.
Lady Fire Rose.
Yes, I have this. I heard about this. I have not seen this. Actually, I once threw it to another fire top. I think we talked about this to Scorpiana too. I was trying to find suspension fire cup. So using the fire cupping and suspend that. So we have this discussion with another Philly fire player, Nurgle, and I throw it to him like, hey, how about this? And we start like, what? That cannot be possible. And we just start like try to brainstorm how to doing that. We start talking like, just crazy talk. I don't know. I keep on saying, because then in Philly, I'm in New York. I was there because it's a workshop in Philly that I met him and we start talking about that. I like to throwing a bunch of crazy idea, and I like these people just want to have those brainstorm. I don't know if possible or not, but suspension fire cupping. So I saw someone doing that, but it's not with suspension the whole body, but I just wonder if that's possible. And
You
we
are
have those
actually
distance.
You are actually the second person I've spoken to recently about fire cupping suspension.
Okay. Is there someone then already success to doing that?
Somewhat. They're working on a technique. I can put you
There
in
you
touch
go.
with them at some point. But
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that was like, make a basket rope thing like that on the cupping. It just, I don't know. We'll see. And also like doing, I know it's very dangerous, but someone want to do the rope suspension above the pool with the fire. So
Interesting.
we'll see. I'll let you know.
We'll see. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Scorpiana, your turn.
It is so funny because as we're having this conversation, so many good, wonderful memories are just keep coming up for me. So, one of the formative scenes that I saw that just had me go, oh my gosh, I need to find out what this is. I need in, was actually watching Nurgle, who is a fellow member of House Blackfire, do a rope and fire scene. And so imagine my surprise as this new baby Kingster coming in and seeing this person in a partial rope suspension while fire play is happening. Star Eyes was just like, I gotta find out. But one of my favorite fire scenes that I participated in was also with Nurgle, where we actually did I guess the best way to describe it would be vertical fire with dance and movement. So the entire scene was both of us on our feet, standing up, moving to the music together, in concert, in space, while doing fire. So I was the receiver. And so, this kind of just fire in 3D, ending with me on a cross, receiving fire caning. It was an electrifying scene. It was amazing to participate in because it was just this constant movement and energy and fire while in movement, which is not something we typically see very often. It's usually like, okay, you stay put,
right?
Whether it's laying down or standing up, and the top going from there. It's one of the wonderful things that I appreciate about being a member of House Blackfire is that we've been able, as a collective, to come up with some ridiculousness and then figure out a way to make it happen. So, Jay's like, hey, some switches. And I'm like, hi, resident House Blackfire switch, ready and when you are, Jay.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. I would also like to note for present attendees and also future listeners, once this goes up, for future listeners as well, that rope and fire, movement and fire, vertical fire and things have significant special risks that should be taken into account as they significantly increase the risk profile, that you should seek additional training before you engage in these while they are
Yes,
fantastic.
they are definitely higher level. And to be clear, Nurgle and I have been doing fire together since 2016. Before we even thought about doing any of the movement and fire pieces. So definitely not where you start.
And this is within these individuals' personal risk profile. They may not be within your risk profile or your skill set, and that is okay. Everybody is valid. So let's see. Let's move on just a little bit. see, did someone else? Lady Fire Rose, did you have another thing that you wanted to add? I see your hand up.
Oh, oh no, I'm sorry. I forgot to lower my hand.
Oh, you're good. Okay. Have you ever encountered gatekeepers in your journey with fire? Maybe people who tried to dissuade you from practicing or learning? If so, what does that look like? And was there a reason why that happened, do you think? Or has it generally been kind of smooth sailing for you? Scorpiana.
So most of the barriers that I received trying to get into fire were similar to the ones that I got in kink in general, which is, in a lot of spaces being the only or one of few people of color. The pushback that we often get is being a female top, and then just access to quality education. I am very fortunate in that I am in an area, I'm based outside of Philadelphia, where we have a number of good quality fire players who are passionate about education and sharing that. So, my barrier to entry was a little bit lower because I was persistent and kept poking people like Jay to be like, psst, psst, show me the things. But definitely it's been something that, throughout my kink journey in all the different modalities, it's been the same, misogyny and that blocks everything.
For sure. I'm sorry that's been a barrier for you. And I think while it has been present for me on that aspect in relation to my perceived gender, there is the added aspect of the racial perceptions and added barriers there as well, which I'm sure creates additional difficulties and kind of that gatekeepy sense as well.
And interestingly enough, some of it is also from within the Bipoc. Sure. If I had $1 for every time somebody was like, "You let somebody light you on fire? What? Make it Isn't that some crazy white people shit?"
Oh goodness!
Like, as a direct quote, and just this kind of perception that's not something that we do, and so you kind of get it from both ends, unfortunately.
Oh, heartbreaking. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Valkyrie, your turn.
Yeah, hi. Not really as Scorpions, not really gatekeeping, more that the stereotype of it. Now, I am a switch, very switchy. In most things that I do, fire is not one of them. Purely because I don't have enough skills, knowledge to be able to play safely. When I get to a point where I'd like to try, maybe at this point, I'm nowhere near, and I don't think I should be in that position. But the number of times when I have had people, not usually people of color, mainly because there's very few of us. I can count on one finger how many people I have met on the kink scene of color in the area I'm in. Now, I'm not in central London. There's probably more, so I'm just a bit further up north from London. So there's very few of us. But what I do find is getting approached for play. "Oh, can you come and wax me?" Or "Can you come and play? I want a fire scene. You're a dom, right?" Firstly, no. What would make you say that? And the first thing they usually say is, and they assume this is a compliment. "Oh, you look so powerful and in charge," which is kind of like, you don't know me. How can you actually make that assertion? When I joined the team, I was very much a sub. All my play was sub or bottom based. My switchiness kicked in about 4 years ago.
Mhm.
But it's that constant assumption that because they look at me and mostly think, oh, Black woman, you're a strong Black dominant. Come and I want some wax play with you. And you think, yeah, no, firstly, no. So I tend to not really advertise the things I can do purely because I don't want to have to deal with the walking up to me to ask me to do stuff like, I'm a service provider or something, uh, which can be very annoying. But I am fortunate enough to have my local community. We're very close-knit and they are always striving to learn and understand. They don't make assumptions or judgments. In fact, when Radically Dark messaged me to ask if I was available, it's like, you don't have to if you don't want to. It's just you're the only Black person I know. And I'm like, that's okay.
I
Yeah.
certainly understand. I'm glad that your local community has been able to learn and adjust, because it can be awkward to have these conversations. I know my team, we try to be very upfront when we're approaching people because we put it out there, but we also want to do the labor of inviting people in and let them know that they're wanted with it. But at the same time, we also don't want to um, tokenize people or ask them to put forward energy or effort that they don't have to give.
No, that's understandable. And I think Radical only approached me because she's a very close friend of mine and knows I love fire. And I did talk to when Reign of Blood started, and I said, it's a shame I'm not into needles. She's like, oh, we're gonna start a fire one. I'm like, now that I can do.
We're happy to have you, and I'm really glad that that support has been able to be there for you. So what I'm hearing you say is that you've kind of faced what we would consider in psychology stereotype threat bias, but almost in like a little bit of a different way, like the fear of fitting a stereotype, so going the other way, but kind of from other people to some degree. Does that sound about right?
I would say so, yes. And I think because of that, I don't adventure out it deeper into things like fire and wax because I don't want to have to deal with that. I deal with it enough as a top with impact play and rope that I don't want to add something else on there. But you can do this and you can do that and you can do that.
Yeah.
And you're like, so yeah, very few people have seen me top in wax. A few have seen me bottom for fire. But it's something that I kind of like, I'd like to keep this for me.
Yeah, for sure. Which is totally your prerogative, something that gives back to you. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate that. Scorpiana, looks like your hand is up again.
Yeah, I just wanted to second those feelings of getting the, oh, you must be a dominant, because the whole strong Black woman, angry Black woman trope that likes to be out there in the world. And it's like, well, no, sometimes I like to be soft and maybe I'm not a top today. And especially for me that I am a switch. And also occasionally running into this situation where, because I don't meet that stereotype, this kind of fit that there must be something wrong with me because I'm not meeting this random stereotype that they have got in their heads without even knowing me. I am a happy sadist when I do indulge in that type of activity. So it's like, no, I'm not going to be mean to you. I'm probably going to tickle you or something ridiculous like that. And I'm going to be very nice to you until I'm not.
Right.
And so it's very frustrating to be in situations where you get pigeonholed before you even come in the door.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, it's a situation that I have seen in primarily white spaces as well as in predominantly POC spaces, where there's those stereotypes that you're trying to overcome in either group.
So what I'm hearing you say is you wish that people didn't just see you as a Black woman, they also saw you as Scorpiana. You're a person as well.
Exactly.
I love it. Thank you so much. Dominus J, you're up.
So I actually love hearing the interaction between everybody, because I have said a lot of this in the past. I am not what I do. I am a person first that does the things. And in hearing everyone's interaction and their stories, I'm hearing those exact words, not exactly those words being said, but the spirit of those words coming from everybody, and it actually fills my heart with a lot of joy for each individual, because I feel very passionate about that. When it comes to being a person of color within the kink scene, I absolutely mirror Scorpiana's sentiment in that I'm a 6'2" individual. So most people come up to me and they're like, "Oh my goodness," and they're usually looking up to me. So they immediately are looking like, "Okay, you're this intimidating presence, and you have personality, and obviously you're going to just beat on me and do these horrible things to me." And like Scorpiana says, I'm a psychological sadist. I'm a happy sadist. I want to be able to get to know you and intimately manipulate and to influence your emotional state and open up your mind. And yes, the physical aspect is lovely, but looking at my stature and looking at, who I present myself as is not always the total package of who I am. And while I can't say I have experienced a whole lot of gatekeeping when it comes to the community, I am fortunate in that. And I take that as something that I need to always be cognizant of, because there are a lot of communities that there are a lot of gatekeepers out there. There are a lot of individuals that will not allow someone to truly be in their kink journey, and who will want to influence or manipulate where that needs to go. Everybody's journey is their own journey, and you shouldn't want to be a gatekeeper within that journey. You should want to be a person that propels them in that journey. But what I can say I have absolutely seen is, like what we commented on before, the tokenization of people within the POC community, within the kink community. That is something that I have experienced pretty decently. Being a POC and being a fire player, it's kind of a niche thing. You don't see a lot of persons of color that do fire, and to be brought into different events and different venues, it very much gives me the idea that I am there to serve an agenda sometimes. And I'm very forthcoming and very upfront about, I am a person, not a race or a color or a gender. I am me, and I am always Jay. And either you love Jay or you feel Jay's annoying, but that's okay. I'm still gonna like you anyway. What I love to see is, as an organizer, I myself try to do the best I can to not tokenize people within their own subset of self-identification. And I know that that's a very hard thing to do, because you want to create a space that is open for everyone, but you can't do that until you have people to come into that space that feel welcome. And so my mission has always been to just make everyone feel as welcome as they can, and allow them to come to their own conclusions as to whether or not that space is welcoming and safe for them. And one of the things I really love about this organization is they didn't look at me as a person of color, as a fire player. This is just a fire event that I am asked to be a part of, and I'm happy to be a part of it. And they accept me as the individual that I am, regardless of how I present, regardless of the skin, the color or tone of my skin. And it's one of the places that I've seen that have done a lot of effort to make that a conscious thing. And I want to appreciate that. Thank you.
We really appreciate that. And we do work very hard with that, or we try to, because it is something that we're very conscious of. Both the weight of the tokenization and the weight of representation, as well as the need for representation and the fatigue that it can bring to these individuals, and the burnout that it can cause, which then decreases the amount of representation. It's a vicious cycle. So we're trying to create a space in which it is a positive thing and creates a positive experience for individuals who do have the spoons and do have the effort to give, to step up and show, hey, I'm doing this too, and we can have a good time with this. It is for me. I can be different. This is not just a crazy white person thing to light people on fire. It is also a crazy white person thing to light people on fire, but it's just a crazy person thing to light people on fire altogether. But also, by the way, I met you and I think you are an absolutely lovely human being, height notwithstanding. So
Thank you. Thank you.
fantastic. But thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing that. That was lovely. Lady Fire Rose, you're up.
Yes, thank you. So for the question for the education, I would say, well, I'm based in New York. We are, very a lot of all the POC people. I think we're pretty much the most all the people here that could be variation on the scenes. I would say on my journey learning, I was pretty open, but kind of like I'm adaptable. I live from my country, the Southeast Asian, and then I have sometimes in Germany, and I came here, so I'm adapt very fast. I already so many times become the minority at the point I know how to navigate. So from learning, I was okay with that, with going to the course or even reaching out to the other season player. So I reaching out by fact, I think it's a good thing too, not only just checking or try to find someone, but learning from something. Even some great player, they want to share, safety, knowledge, skills, and so on. So I've been fortunate enough to reach out people from all the way from Canada and also in Florida. And they're very open, tell me like about the tips and tricks, how to do that. So that's been okay. So on my journey, I would say as a Asian female down and top, there's something that's going on too for me that, microaggression. Someone would say, of course they let you do that because you're Asian femdom. Like, it doesn't look at my skill, but just label me because of that. And I was, I have my personality and I work on myself. And I take time to learn all those skills, knowledge, and so on.
Yeah.
So for me, just calling that way is very, it's kind of unvalue me as a human with
Yeah.
everything that I did and try. And also assumption as me. I mean, I'm the other side. I'm Asian and female.
Yeah.
So those fetish also when I was playing, a lot of people, especially I was several times with Shermy and Bruce, kind of we are the in-house for some event in New York. And I think when I start to ring under the ring, just doing the fire play, trying with the people, and lines is just long. And what I feel like after that, I want to have a connection, but I feel like they more like fetish me. Like first is the fire, and the second, a female top,
Yeah.
female dom. And I told them, no, I'm not dom for you. My dom only with my partner. So
Yeah.
I'm just a female. I'm just a top for you. But
Yeah.
they kind of like fetish me to be, oh, I was touched by Asian female dom. Like those is just, not my stuff. I don't like objectification. And it's just, I think, very degrading for me too.
Yeah.
But yeah, but those stuff. And the funny enough that I said, even like my mentor is like joking around, like we have some fire player gathering, and some new people usually coming and then asking about stuff, and then they kind of like, okay, who you want to try with? And it's and we joking around like, who's the sadist here? And I was giggling, and they know actually from us like who's could be the most sadist one. That's why they said I'm the sweetest sadist, because I'm disguised with my Asian female personality, appearance, and so on. But in the other way, that's the thing too. It become like double sword. Like
Right.
people become fetishing me, and
Right.
sometimes really
Understandable.
make me uncomfortable. Especially that that uh low taste common, like, of course, because you're just Asian femdom, it's very hurting me.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
sorry.
because they thought that I was to be soft, I need to be weak, I need to be
Yeah.
like all the fetishes about Asian female,
Right.
which is the other side with the other people feeling here on the table.
Oh, yeah. Certainly
Yes,
understandable. Oh,
thank
I'm
you.
so sorry that that's your experience. That just crawls under my skin. Uh, that is an incredibly painful experience to go through. And, if people could put themselves in your shoes, and most of us, if we could walk around feeling that way in a dungeon space as a top or even as a bottom, it would absolutely drive us insane. And if we had to think about that every single time we walked into a dungeon space, that could possibly be our experience that night, just the amount of energy and bravery and things that it would take to walk into that dungeon space would be enormous. It would kind of be discouraging in my book. You would probably never catch me walking into a public dungeon space, honestly.
Yes, it's true, but it kind of, in a way, it challenged me too.
Yeah,
So it's
understandable.
really like empower me more, like
Hmm.
whatever you're gonna say, I'm gonna prove you that who I am. And
You fell.
yeah,
love it.
so that spirit to be like, I don't let people taking the power of that, and I know
Uh-huh.
who I am, and I know
Yeah.
exactly who I am and my journey. So
Mhm.
I let them.
And I've got more questions on tokenization and fetishization coming in just a little while, but thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate that. We're going to go to Scorpiana real quick, and then we'll actually move into those questions.
Those, and you're right, having that kind of experience can be super daunting. It can be demoralizing, and for a lot of people, it becomes a barrier to them participating in public kink at all, which is very, very unfortunate. But it's also for me that situation where it becomes the fire underneath me to make a difference and to make it different. To look at people as people and to help create spaces where people can come as people, and be seen for who they are, and to explore and share in the things that we all love together as people. Our house Blackfire hosts a fire Skillshare here in Philadelphia once a month, and that is absolutely the atmosphere that we strive for, is to say we are looking at people as people, and everybody is coming in on their own merit. And anybody who wants to come in here and learn how to do fantastic, fun things with fire, we are here to meet you where you are and help you grow and be better and leave all the rest of that bullshit outside. Because, you know, we have to be the change that we want to see. And fortunately, there's some of us that have the spoons to get out there and do that. And I understand when people don't, but I still have the spoons to get out there and do it. And, you know, and I'm fortunate that I have a group of people around me who are also willing to put in that work to make those changes for what people are seeing and increase representation.
Y'all are a force. I love it. Thank you so much.
You can't keep telling Jay he's a force, though, because otherwise his partner's going to be mad when he can't fit his head through the door. Love him dearly.
I am a force. I'm a force of nature. Okay.
And we
sometimes the force of nature is a bad thing. Okay, and I recognize that.
It's okay. I live with a dragon too.
Okay, you understand the struggle.
I understand the struggle. It's okay. Let's see here. I'm gonna go ahead and skip down a few questions. So I think it's probably safe to say from what we're looking at that most of you have experienced tokenization or fetishization. So I'm gonna expand this question a little bit. So talk to me a little bit more about your experiences with tokenization, fetishization, and representation in the kink and fire communities, what that's looked like, how you've navigated it. Have you seen much representation both in kink and in fire? What has that looked like? Has it helped, etc.? Let's go with Lady Fire Rose.
First, actually, I forgot to lower my hand.
Oh, okay. I
But
mean, you don't have to go if you're not ready.
okay, I'm not ready.
Okay, Valkyrie, then we're gonna go with you first.
Yeah, I think for me, the part of the world, part of the country that I'm in, means there's very few people of color on the scene anyway. At any one event I go to, I'm lucky if I see 2 people in the crowd that look like me. So it's just one of those things. But I have that lovely, warm, bubbly butterfly feeling in my stomach when I see someone who looks like me, because it reminds me that I am not the alien in the room. I'm lucky enough that my local kink community, the people I hang out with, I joke about this, but it's totally true. The split between people have a vanilla life and they have a kink life. I have a life. The people on the scene are my friends outside of the scene. Not because I made friends with them on the scene. Funny enough, some of them found me on the scene and they didn't even know. So it's kind of, it's always funny. We joke about how many of them have walked into my munch as I'm sitting there and they're like, what are you doing here? Right. Well, I've been coming to this munch for 5 years. What are you doing here? Oh, it's my first time. Oh, welcome. So it's always nice to have that kind of come full circle. I don't have to separate my kink life with my vanilla life. It is what it is, and it makes my life a lot easier. But I found in the beginning, when I first started attending public events, I was undecided as to my role. I just hadn't decided. You come in as a exploring, let's see what all this is about and what I can learn about myself. And I quickly realized people had already put me in a box. I was the Black female dom. Like, but I'm not. Yeah, but you're so strong and powerful, which is bullshit, pardon my French, because unlike Dominus J, I am 5'2". Yeah, I look up at most people, including my partner, who's 6'1". I am very small statured. So for somebody to assume just because of my skin color I am a dom it's absolutely ridiculous. But back then I was like, maybe I'll give it a try. No, I don't. Then it gets into the whole kink dispenser realm. So I started hiding parts of me.
Mhm.
I took a break from the scene for about 6 months, came back, reinvented myself as a sub. A princessy one. The most colorful pink glittery you can find, walking around with a fairy wand and a tutu. That was what I had to become to keep the, oh, you're a dom, would you like to hit me, mistress? And that's another thing that really gets on my nerves, the honorifics of people you don't know me. And I had to reinvent myself. It was a form of code switching for me, a survival thing.
Yeah.
And then after a few years, I realized I really didn't like having to only have one side of me.
Mhm.
So I just decided, you know what? I am a switch. I have, due to life and environment situations, yes, I am very forward. I stand up for myself,
Mhm.
right? Which as I've heard a lot of our Americans friends say, angry Black woman. That's not really a phrase that is very popular in the UK, but we have something similar. And I'm like, okay, so yes, I have my personality, survival. I was raised by a single woman. I have had to learn to be strong. So if you don't like it, you don't like it.
Right.
And in turn, it means my sadistic side is probably like Scorpiana. I am a sweet, gentle, nice, fluffy, flowery sadist. I inflict pain with a giggle and a smile and the yeah, I put all of that in because that is me. That is the complete me. I have my bottom side and I do have people who top me, very few trusted people I know who get me into that space that I can be comfortable and release that part of me. And when I'm topping, I am vicious. I make no qualms about it, but I will do it with a giggle and a smile and a flash of the tutu, and people go, "Oh my God, you're so small and cute, but you're so mean." Like, which is really funny because my partner is bottom and we can never switch. The dynamic just works better that way. We bond better as those two halves. And I know when I play with him and I'm being mean, he has his cutest scowl on his face when he says, "But I didn't mean it like that. You're being mean," which just ignites that side of me. It took a journey to find who I am now. And I think I would like to see more people of color explore more than just the things that are expected of them. So having things like Rain of Fire is fantastic because this side of the pond, we don't get that much of it, especially in the fire play area. You know a fire player or they introduce you to somebody. I know two. And that's saying something considering I literally attend events for most of the middle part of England and I have met two. So it's a shame and hopefully this will change.
Thank you so much for sharing. What I'm hearing you say is that the fetishization and the stereotyping in particular actually affected you to the point that it kind of alienated you from parts of yourself and almost created a level of isolation and inability or lack of opportunity to express your whole authentic self, which is the entire point of kink. Like to be able to embrace your full authentic self.
I literally had to tie up my sadistic top side and put her in a cupboard, because I just couldn't deal with the expectation of what I should be by looking at me. It just, I felt for my own mental well-being that was the right thing to do at the time. And if I had to do it all over again with the knowledge I have now, I probably would say not to do that, because I missed out on a lot by doing that. Or if I had more people to talk to, it probably would have helped if there were more organizations or groups around that you could reach out to.
Yeah.
It would have helped, but I didn't have those resources back then. I mean, we're talking back, what, 2016, 2017. Yeah, we didn't have lovely things like Zoom and Teams so that you can talk to someone across the planet. So it's a shame, but hopefully we'll learn from it.
Thank you so much for sharing so authentically. That was lovely. Daddy Blackhammer, you're next on my screen.
Yeah, so being from Maine, probably one of the whitest states in the United States, I can probably count on one hand the amount of people of color I know in the community in general. There just aren't a lot of us up here. When I go to a munch, I might see maybe one or two other people of color if I'm lucky. And then at parties, I mean, depending, like when we throw parties and stuff, I have a couple friends that are in kink that are of color, but that's pretty much it. It's very rare to you see anyone outside of that for representation wise up here. And as for like fetishization wise, I'd say more often when I'm at a party, I'll be like, oh, I've never seen a black person before. I've never been with a black person before. And I get that way more often than it probably should ever happen. But that's probably my 2 cents on that piece right there.
And so kind of what effect has that had on you, if any?
I mean, I grew up in Maine, so I've lived in Maine my entire life, so it's really just been my norm. Because growing up in the state, I mean, you get used to it, right? I mean, it's just like, oh, you say, oh wow, there aren't a lot of black or colored people at all in the state. It's changed more now, I'd say, over the past 10 years or so. But I mean, it's definitely been my norm. So it's nothing like, oh, it's just the way it's been, I guess. So
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for sharing differing perspectives there. Scorpiana, your turn.
I find for myself, I've actually leaned in hard into it. So if I'm going to be the only one here, then I'm going to be loud and I'm going to take up space and I'm going to call you on your bullshit for why am I the only one here? And I hate that I have to say this again, but if you're not actively inclusive, you are passively exclusive. My husband is probably somewhere like happy as a clam that I'm quoting him again. But I really take that to heart, where it's, if you are not actively working on including people in these spaces, you're not going to get the diversity. You're not going to see the change. And so, you know, I make myself an agent of that change. I am that one where as soon as I see another POC, it's like, hi friend, I see you. And when people have the questions about, you know, how do I get into this? How do I do this? I give that labor, to let people know, like, there is a place for us here. And I lend my support to the people and to the organizations and to the events that meet that same mission, you know, and part of that is creating my own spaces. And part of that is making sure that I lend my voice and time and energy to spaces who are doing that work. But, you know, I realize, especially here in the States, it's an uphill battle, but it's one that I feel like is important to fight. And just to be loud and say, hey, I am not the stereotype. There is more to me and more to other BIPOC than what you see on TV and whatever other little stereotypes have come to mind. So you know, dream a little bigger, darling.
I love it. And I feel like this is a good time to remind everybody that we do offer a BIPOC, AANHPI plus scholarship for free tickets to all of our events, because we recognize that it is extra effort to show up and to learn and to represent there. So please take advantage of that. But yes, and we appreciate you showing up and putting in that labor and that effort. But it is a lot. And there's only so much that one person can do without burning out. But absolutely love the work that you put into things. Love the
My experience has been that it putting in that work becomes worth it. And I often see this lovely snowball effect that happens. I remember, and it was one of those things that brought me so much joy at Ignite. You know, I had an attendee, and I was at the front desk doing check-in, and I had an attendee who, so I'm the first face that you see when you walk into the space. And she looked at me and she was just like, I am so glad that I took the chance to come out, because she was so sure that this was going to be an all white male space, you know, that it was just going to be a bunch of dude bros. So to see another woman and to see another Black woman was like, aha. And then the next time she brought a friend. And then the next time that person brought a friend. And then the next time someone else brought a friend. And so it, you know, yes, it is tiring and a lot of effort, but I recognize that by putting myself in that place, it can start that snowball that makes the change to say, hey, you're not the only one. Now we're 2. Now we're 3. Now we're 10. Now we've grown and kept this ball going. And by continuing to show up, it also, you know, is a signal to, you know, people of the global minority that, hi, we are here, we deserve to be in these spaces. And that, you know, your white only spaces are only really suffering from not having some diversity of some way, shape, or form in it.
Yeah. And you bring up a really great idea for venue and event organizers of asking individuals, again, I would not just assign them, but asking individuals if they're okay with being in more visible spaces, explaining that you're attempting to create a more welcoming space, and asking if they're okay with being at the front desk, or they're okay being in a more visible space with that. I really like that idea. Let's see. Was there anything else? Lady Fire Rose, I see your hand up.
Yes, now I'm really want to talk. So, I would say there's 2 points that I want to share. One is my experience, and the other one, another conversation with the other BIPOC when I was having back to a few months ago in task. So for my personal experience, me as a Asian femdom, that's very fetishes. And there's not only one, that also 2, as a Asian female. I don't know if you heard about the yellow fever, the butterfly, oh, God, I forgot. So they have those fetish about the Asian female, which is fragile, submissive, weak, and so on. So those the one, and sometimes, you know, very prejudiced when they see me. So for me, being an Asian female, dumb and pop, sometimes I feel like people just see me by those fetish, and they will come up like, I have no limit, do anything you want. I was like, you don't know me personality, you don't understand what I like, what I can do. It just sometimes it's making me crazy too if someone come up like, I have no limits, do anything you want. Like those like become the fetish because they just want connect with me as, you know, the female Asian or female Asian female dumb thing like that.
Yeah.
And the other one also, because of that, the fetish as an Asian female, they are submissive. There's very eerie. I have like a couple of dom that still trying, ask me to submitting to them. And it's kind of like a trophy for them. Like they compete, try to make me submit or something like that. And it's become a trophy because she is the female dom, an Asian female dom want to submit. And there's time to time, it's just very disgusting comment like, oh, when is your time gonna naked in front of me? I was like, oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. And the other one, what I feel when I have those conversations with the Bipoc on the test event, I'm on the side of the top, but on the Asian female dom, oh, I'm sorry, Asian female sub and bottom is getting worse because they are really like the marginalized of those, like the very weak and so on. So when I went to event, when I did a lot of the fire play, in-house fire play in dark side, thing like that, one of the event in New York, when I saw a couple or three female, Asian female, which is they wearing collar, thing like that, and they showing like they are the sub represent. I think they kind of start to regret themselves because a lot of, I call it the predator dom gonna be jump on top of them. And I usually become the big sister. I have the big sister energy. And on that conversation, there's someone come up that recognize me and know that I did that to them. I reach out to them like, hey, how you doing? What are you doing here? So I was like, okay, what you looking for? Like, just a very light conversation. And I feel like they might be regret the way that they wearing, more represent of the sub side. And people, the guys, I would say, start, just swarming around them and start asking question and start like telling like, hey, I could do this to you and so on. So I could see they start to get scared. And I was always telling them, I'm here, I'm on that corner, I'm a fire player. If you feel uncomfortable, find me. You could tell them I'm gonna go to find Rose. Just go them. I have my friends, I have my community, I have my group. Just stand around us, be with us, you'll be fine. We all gonna protect you. So those kind of the thing that what I can do, because in New York we are very diverse. So it's very different experience with the others because I see different, POC. But especially for the Asian who's leaning more the sub side representation, especially if they are new. That's how I feel like I want to help them more, not to be afraid, not to be taking advantage and so on. And yeah, what I can do is just like that. And then I just say, hey, find me in fact if you are there. And is there any question, feel free to reach out to me anytime. So
Thank you so much for sharing. And I hope those individuals were able to find a place where they were able to feel safe. And I appreciate you for being able to be a safe space for them. So let's see here. What do you wish you knew as a person of color participating in the fireplay scene that's not typically talked about? We'll go with that question. Give you a second to think about it. Lighten the discussion a little bit. Thomas J.
So I just want to clarify the question. That you're asking, what is it that we would know now?
Yes. What would you wish, like it either before, if you were going to talk to a new individual coming in as a person of color or yourself as a new fire player, what would you want them to know? Something that they wouldn't usually have heard or that wouldn't usually have been talked about.
What I would say to someone is, like I've said before, your journey is your journey. I see a lot of people wanting to direct someone else's journey, and especially a lot of the new people that are coming into kink every single day. I volunteer at a newbie centric venue, so I get to see people all the time that are just curious about kink, aren't even really into kink but want to know more about it. I also see people that have just fell into kink in a sense through friends, and now they're looking to explore it. What I say to them is, this is life. This is not a subdivision of life. Who you are as a person is going to be the same individual you want to present when you're in the lifestyle. You want to be true to yourself. You'll find that journey is a journey of self-identification and a journey of self-discovery, just like in life. A lot of people look at it like, this is my escape from life. And I don't begrudge them that perception. I look at this, my own personal philosophy is, I look at this as an accentuation, an extension of my life, not just something to run away to. I am always going to be who I am in all styles of my life, whether it be my vanilla life, my kink life. I tell people all the time, I have the benefit of, I don't need to be behind doors. I am always myself. I am always open with who I am. It doesn't matter if a stranger walks up and says, you know, what are your interests? I'm going to identify what we can discuss. And if it is a conversation that I feel I can have with that individual, I'm going to start lightly broaching those subjects because they ask me about me. That being said, don't think that you will always have these shiny, glowy, wonderful moments throughout your entire journey. Just like life, there are some wonderful aspects to what we do. And just like life, there are some dark aspects to what we do. Embracing the change between the light and the dark, accepting that they are both necessary, and moving past that and growing from those experiences are what I would educate people toward. Because and who they want to be. They just
You there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, there you are. Sorry, you broke up on me there for a second.
Sorry about that.
No, you're perfectly fine.
I would just say that you are being true to yourself within this space, and you're free to be yourself within this space. Embrace it and gain power and knowledge from that freedom.
The expansion of self, the authenticity of self, It's another facet or like turning a diamond or aspect of the self. I really like that. Thank you so much for sharing. It's a really beautiful philosophy to approach things. Thank you so much. Anyone else want to toss an ember at this?
So,
Okay.
sorry, I think somebody else had their
Oh,
hand
You're
raised.
good. Valkyrie, and then we'll do Scorpiana.
Yeah, so if I had to go back in time and speak to younger me at that time, I would have said, people are going to try and put you in a box. You don't belong in that box. You're going to meet people who are going to want to be your friend as a token.
Mhm.
And you need to be able to distinguish between the genuine and they want something out of you.
Mhm.
I say that because the number of times I would meet people who would be all friendly with me until they ask for something and I say no.
Mm.
And they would say, what's the point of having a black friend if you can't do that for me? Yeah.
Sorry, did
And
my face just say that?
oh yeah.
Excuse me.
And you I would say, don't let that define you. It's a reflection of them, not you. And also to remember that just like in life, you gotta go through a whole lot of horse manure to find that diamond in the rough, but they are in there. They're more than you think, and you will connect with people on a level you didn't think was possible because they are genuinely good people on the scene. And I say that after having realized that these people at one point or another literally saved my life. But you also have to see the other side of the opportunists and the chances, and don't let them define who you are.
Mhm.
I think back and I think, how did I let myself get walked into something I didn't want to do? I'm not that person. And it's just to remind, especially those who are very new to the scene, there is good and bad in everyone, but be true to who you are, because that is very rarely leads you wrong. That intuition, the thing you feel in the middle that tells you where your true north is.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. So Scorpiana and then Lady Fire Rose.
In a similar vein, it's just that reminder that the isms are everywhere. That the kink community is a microcosm of the greater community. And so the same isms that show up in the greater community around you will show up in the kink community. So, there's folks that come in and then they're like, oh, but everybody's doing all these kinky things. So shouldn't they be like more understanding and thoughtful or whatever? And it's like, no. It's the same. You'll see the same misogyny. You'll see the same racism. You see the same sexism. You see the same ageism that you see everywhere else, just on a smaller level. And to just keep that in mind. And there are great people everywhere. And you will meet some of my chosen family are the people that I have met through the kink community. But to not forget that it is just a microcosm of the real world.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that perspective. Lady Fire Rose.
Yes. I would say that, on the journey, what I could tell me, I'm just pretty new too, but I have some experience that happened in the past. I think take time, and this is part of life too. I believe part of life that we need to grow anyway in every way. Um, learning to be king, I think you need to also learning about king too. Boundary is all about consent. So understand how you have those boundaries for people. And of course, I think the beginning of a journey, there's always situation like imposter syndrome. I have the situation that imposter syndrome for relationship, but I find it just in not compatible. So understanding and accepting what's going on, I think that could be part of, again, our life. King and life is just the same. Dating the king people is just dating like the real world, like, the human. You need to understand personality, not only knowing the list of the fetish or the king that they like. So taking time, open your eyes and understand your boundary, which is, again, part of the consent. I think that's very needed for the new people that who want to join. And especially when, be careful with the one out there. They could be very manipulate and saying, oh, you're soft, you need to do this. Oh, if you're top, you need to do this to me. Like, like those. Being a top, a lot of time it become fetish dispenser. But being a sub, I believe, I mean, I'm not switch, but I have a lot of conversation with the other side, other friends who mostly sub, they saying like, a lot of, especially on the fact, the message from the predator and saying, hey, I'm gonna mentor you. Hey, I'm gonna make you to be good, something like that. So I think they are also more, how to say, more risk being define themselves as sub. I think they are more become like the highest what you call in this device of this king, a lot of predator, they're gonna find like Asian, I'm sorry, female sub. So like those, we just need to take time and to learn about personality and knowing what we like. And yes, stand your ground and then you know what you want. And again, take time. Don't be afraid when people say you need to do this, you need to do that. And there's a lot of good people in the community. And of course, there's a lot of bad apple too. Just be careful. But keep the hope. There are good people out there.
Great advice. Thank you so much. So I'm gonna pull a therapist-y thing here. So sorry. I'm not actually a therapist, I'm a researcher. But I'm sensing a theme here that all of you are telling me that a lot of the issues within kink can be helped by humanizing kink and kinksters. Is that basically what I'm hearing?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I think that's a big
Yes.
I think that's a big thing that I'm getting feedback here is humanizing kink and connecting at a human level, and acknowledging human differences and human individuality. So I'm gonna go off script here for a second. So sorry. Miss K and Radically Dark might kill me a little later, but that's all right. So how do you approach humanizing kink? Like, what does that look like to you? What was your journey of humanizing kink like? How do you know when you have arrived at humanizing kink? We'll just open up the table that way. Dominus J.
Part of what I would like to I try to help out in humanizing comes down to some of the concepts that I try to instill in when it comes to negotiations. A lot of people negotiate as if it's some kind of interview, as if it's some kind of interrogation. And I always say, negotiation should be an ever-evolving conversation between two people to come to a common goal. And the best part about that description is you can use that description to talk about any type of subject. It's just a conversation. And if we're having conversations together, I'm learning about you and you are learning about me, which means we are seeing each other as humans and not the things we do, but the people that we are. And negotiations is the foundation, one of the many pillars of the foundation of what we do. So if we're having that discussion and setting and opening up the mindset of an individual that I want to talk to this person because they're a good person, not just because they do fire, not just because they do wax, not just because they're popular. Then we start moving into the active action of humanizing what we do.
I believe it is Kantian ethics, if I am remembering correctly, don't quote me, who says that essentially the essence of ethics is to treat human beings as the ends in and of themselves instead of a means to an end. And that's what I'm hearing you say, is that when we take and we humanize the person and we treat getting to know them and that time with them and work with them together side by side in engaging in what we're doing together, that humanizes the experience instead of treating them as a means to an end to get to what we're doing. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You are much more articulate in that space than I am.
Oh, no.
I really appreciate your words.
No, you're okay. It's that random philosophy minor way back years ago that I can like rattle off in my brain occasionally. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you bringing that up. Scorpiana, you're up.
I take a very similar approach as Jay. It's people first. It's coming to meet people. It's coming to see new people, and then taking it from there. I've been on the receiving end of the, oh, I just want to play with you because you do fire, without any consideration for who I am as a person, and it's a horrible, horrible feeling. And I strive not to do that to others. And so really just, I want to meet people. I want to meet awesome people. And then if we happen to find something in play that overlaps for us, then that's the icing on the cake. But it's really about meeting people first. It's also one of the reasons why I am a huge proponent of munches, and our social spaces that are not revolved around direct play. It's like, get to know these people as people. Instead of like your first experience with them is them bent over a bench half naked or something, because that's what's going to shift how you look at someone. They're not just a toy, they're not just a tool, they're a person. And by doing that, it's, in all honesty, it's made my kink better. So it's like, great. So we humanize things, we're treating people as people, and it also has the great side effect of giving you a better kink experience in general. Because even for the people where it's like, okay, maybe we don't want to play together, but I learned something new, I'm discovering something new, my eyes have been open to something that maybe now I want to try, and now, oh, here's a whole new rabbit hole for me to go down. You just never know, but if you don't connect with the person first, you'll never find out.
Thank you so much. I think a lot of what you touched on there, I think, is that sometimes we don't necessarily think about what it really means to be deeply human, and just all of the different facets that means beyond being bent over half naked on a bench sometimes. And slowing down, like you mentioned, getting to know people, meeting them halfway, and that collaborative effort that you brought up is such a beautiful way to bring things together slowly. It's fantastic. Thank you. Anyone else would like to take a stab at this? How do you humanize or recognize your own humanity? How do you explore yourself, your own wants and desires, or get to know yourself as a Kingster, as a human? Scorpiana, did you have something else that you wanted to add?
No, sorry, I forgot to put my hand down.
No, you're good. I just want to check. Always want to give you room to talk. Okay, since we're on the topic of negotiations, then, how do you approach negotiations within fire play? What does that look like for you, especially when negotiating with people of color? Scorpiana.
I tend to, and just in general, when negotiating for fire, I tend to over negotiate probably, and really just try to push the education piece to make sure that someone really truly does have informed consent for what they're doing. Because I find a lot of times people see the flash and the show of it, and they don't really understand the potential of what can happen. And for good and for bad.
Right.
And so, and I'll start with it. Hi, we're playing with fire. You might get burned. Whoop, let's start there first. And what does this look like? And what happens if something like this happens? And then also, really getting into, what is the intention behind what we're doing here? What are we looking for to get out of this experience to make sure that we're on the same page with what we're trying to achieve together, because it is a collaborative effort. Even if you are playing with power dynamics and things of the sort, it's still a situation where, we have to come together and be on the same page, because that's the way we're going to have the best scene for both of us.
I love it. Thank you so much. Is there anything that you would like non-people of color to be aware of when specifically negotiating with people of color for fire play, especially?
Probably one of the biggest things is recognizing that a burn on a darker skinned person is not going to look like a burn on a white person. And there are differences and changes that to the skin that will be readily identifiable as a burn, but they're not going to look like the textbook, because the textbook is usually only including white people. And so making sure that, folks are knowledgeable about this is what a potential injury can look like on different skin tones. And also, one of the things that I stress when I am teaching fire is here are other ways of being able to identify a potential problem other than just this looks a little red. Because a lot of people just want to go by the visual, and the visual does not carry over depending on someone's skin tone. And so it's like, I need you to look, listen, feel like, this is what a burn looks like on a Black person. This is what a burn or the potential for a burn feels like on a person of any color, because you're not always going to have that hallmark visual space. The other piece of it, for non-Black people to remember, in my opinion, is that there is some trauma around some of the things that happen in kink, when it comes to playing with a POC, especially if they are bottoming to a white person. And to be mindful of that trauma. It is a very strong visceral reaction to see a white person exert violence on a person of color. For a lot of people, because it just brings back a lot of generational and current trauma. And if you are not at least understanding of that, then maybe this is not the person that you should be playing with. So that's probably the two biggest things is it looks different on us, and also just being mindful of that additional piece that can come into play when playing with a person of color.
Thank you so much. And I would love to come back to the skin questions there in just a minute. Thank you. Would anyone else like to talk a little bit about their approach to negotiation and informed consent? Lady Fire Rose.
Don't have much saying about the color thing like that. And of course, there's an awareness that we need to understand, especially with the darker color. Just be aware if there's a burn thing like that. But on my consent, especially, I always, try to ask if they have the phobia. I'm not working with anyone with a phobia. I'm not a therapist and I don't want to do something wrong. So if someone gonna say, I have a phobia about the fire, I say, okay, I step back. I don't think, I'm the right person until, you have something else and you're ready, then come up with to me. So I will very, very carefully to approach someone who has a, like have the phobia with fire. Yeah, I mean, that's how I learned from Shermy too. Shermy and Bruce, like, we're not a therapist. We need to be very careful.
Wow.
So I usually step back if I have someone that have those.
Great things to be aware of. And we're actually about to drop another podcast episode on the Reign of Fire podcast on processing fire trauma, of course, appropriately, with fire play. It's actually me talking with Miss Kitten about some of my fire trauma and how after years of therapy and things, I've used fire play to reassociate myself in a positive means with fire. But that's a great approach there of making sure that you have set boundaries and that folks are taking care of themselves and taking a healthier approach to managing their mental health and well-being before engaging in play. Thank you so much for bringing that to the table here. Okay, and next, anyone else would like to add something? All right, then we will go ahead and quickly move to burns and skincare. So what do you like about skincare? What in kind of special skincare regimens do you recommend or use? What about burns? How are burns different? What does that look like? How do you recognize it? How do you treat it? Yada, da, da, da. All of the above. Give me your secrets. Spill. Of course, Scorpiana. I am so excited. Please do tell.
Sorry, I'm a chatty Cathy.
I am good with that. Look, you have great information. I feel like we would be besties. I could listen to you all day long.
So as a bottom for fire, my general skincare routine becomes something that's vitally important just at all times. You have to moisturize your situation. No dry skin over here, okay? And it's one of those that I would think that's kind of a no-brainer, but I've also come to recognize that is very much a cultural thing. We're not gonna be out here ashy and dry, just not okay. So taking the best care of your skin in general before is what's gonna be important when you wanna participate in fire play. You wanna have skin that's moisturized. You wanna be mindful of any cuts, sores, wounds, issues that you might have, because those are going to be areas that you're going to need to avoid playing on or just be more mindful of depending on what your risk level is. I usually tell folks it's making sure that your body in general is well hydrated. Fire play will dehydrate you, period, end of discussion. We're literally sucking all the fluid out of you. So making sure that You are well hydrated ahead of as well as afterwards. You know, as part of the negotiating for scenes, as part of that is negotiating aftercare. And that is one of the non-negotiable aftercare pieces for me when I am topping, is to say that you are not leaving my table until you have downed a glass of water. Like, I need to see you at least begin the rehydration process before you leave my presence. And a lot of times I will, you know, when we're getting ready for fire play, the person that I'm playing with, I'm like, hi, have you used the bathroom? Have you had a glass of water? If you haven't, please have one before we start. And then I'm going to have one waiting for you when we're done. So, you know, those are just general skin care principles are really, really important. Making sure that we're being mindful of not having anything oil-based on our skin, because that's going to change how the fire is going to react on someone's skin, and also has the potential to ruin some equipment. It'd be really nice if you not mess up my beautiful, wonderful wands. But it just changes the dynamics of how everything is going to happen. Being mindful of, you know, what are we doing before? What are we doing after? You know, if you just did a bunch of things that have caused abrasions, rope play, impact, anything like that before coming to my table for fire, then that's going to change how you're going to react and how your skin is going to react. And I need to know that before we start playing. It's not to say that we can't play, but, you know, I need to be aware so that I, as a top, if I'm a top in this situation, can give you enthusiastic, informed consent to be on my table for when we're playing. You know, in my rope bag and my aftercare fire bag, I keep a fire emergency first aid kit. One of the people at a previous fire share shared this one with me, and I've co-opted it and I love it. But they actually sell on Amazon kits for burn emergencies, a little self-contained kit, and it's got burn cream and bandages and gloves and scissors and all the things that you need to take care of a major burn. And it's got the directions for how to use everything, and it's in a nice little Ziploc bag, everything put together. And so that if there was an emergency and I needed to care for somebody, I have everything I need in the bag. And it's one of those situations where, if necessary, I'm like, here, take this with you so that you have the rest of the things that that person needs to take care of themselves. You know, it is my belief as a top that, you know, this person is putting their well-being and life in my hands when they are on my table. And I take that responsibility very seriously. You know, when I started as a bottom and I had a top say to me, you know, you are more important, and I will put myself in harm's way for you. You can thank Jay for that, but don't let his head get too big about it. But like, that really hit home for me to say that, you know, here's somebody who says, I'm going to do whatever needs to be done to take care of you. And that's how I approach it. And I make sure that I have all the things that I need to be able to handle emergencies if they should occur. As far as when we do Fire 101 and start teaching with people, I really strongly try to get people into the habit of making sure that they look and feel before, during, and after play. Because like I said, a burn, especially a first-degree burn, something minor like that, on darker skin is not going to look the same as it does on lighter skin. And so, you know, taking a feel for, this is what this person looked like before I started. And making sure they still look the same way when we're done. How about that? And allowing new people to see that, like, you know, yes, we're applying fire. The skin should be warming up, but with a certain amount of time without fire, it should be cooling back down again. If it's not, that means that we're coming up onto the verge of a burn. So to be mindful of feeling for that temperature difference, as well as looking for changes, is important. So that, you know, if I'm feeling a spot on somebody that's not cooling back down, You know, I've gone off and did a whole bunch of other things and come back and it's still just as hot as it was when I took my wand off of it in the first time. That means we're done here, because I'm really running the risk of putting that person in further danger for a burn if I continue to do fire over that area. And so, you know, getting folks into the habit of feeling the temperature changes as well as looking for things is important.
I love it. I know one of the myths I've often encountered is that brown and black people don't burn and don't get sunburns.
Oh my gosh, sunburns suck. And I feel really sorry for people that get them on a regular basis because they're trash. Yes, black people and brown people can get sunburns. Is the threshold to getting one way higher? Yes. But can we still get them? Absolutely. Coming from the United States, this is definitely, I'm from the African diaspora perspective. Most of us have some cream in our coffee. We have white people in the history. And so as a result, we are not just, you know, African with African with African. And as a result of having European ancestors, that reduces that protective piece and increases our risk for burns. Again, is it as easy as for you to go out and get burned? No, it's still very, very possible. And so people need to be mindful and aware of that.
Very much so. I know people walk out. I have a lot of family members who are people of color and very dark skinned. Some are Haitian even, and very, very dark skinned. And when they get sunburnt and they are very, very dark and their skin is very tender, people are like, "What? You're sunburnt?" Like, yeah.
Yeah, and even when it happens, it doesn't always look
right.
like
it doesn't
what
look
you would-
until the skin is like peeling.
Yep.
But yeah, the sun damage and it's still there and confuses people terribly.
And it comes down to just general good skincare practices for everybody. We should be wearing SPF, we should be moisturizing, we should be taking good care of our skin. You know, that whole adage, black don't crack, you know, some of that is the melanin, but the rest of it is the skincare routine, folks.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. Dominus J, then Lady Fire Rose.
So yes, I absolutely mirror everything that Scorpiana says, and I'm actually going to take the time, if you guys can see this, this is my fire kit right here. This is what Scorpiana was talking about, and I have to give her the most absolute respect when it comes to that. I personally had my own constructed fire kit for fire prevention and burn prevention that I have had throughout, I'll call my tenure of fire. And then she brought it to my attention that we have the ability to have your own self-sustained fire kit that is already sealed, ready to go at a moment's notice. You just rip it open and you have everything there. I literally went out and ordered it the very next day. And I put it in my fire kit, my fire things, and I look at it from this standpoint. And I actually had to start thinking about talking about it, because a lot of people, when I'm going through my negotiations with people, I'll show them my kit, I show them my setup, and I let them know, hey, listen, I'm going to put myself in harm's way, and this is what it looks like. But when it comes to my responsibility of your care, it doesn't just stop on the table. After the table, it's still my responsibility to put you back in homeostasis where I found you. And it's one of those things where if I have caused a little bit of hurt is something in the lifestyle we kind of agree that it's going to happen, and sometimes we actually request it, but we never want to do harm. Harm is permanent. And in my humble opinion, this is just my humble opinion, if I am causing a burn that was not previously negotiated, I am doing harm. And it is my responsibility to make sure that that harm is taken care of and mitigated to the best of my responsibility. So I will have no problem sending you off my table with aloe, with burn cream, with silver iodide, with whatever is necessary to help mitigate and encourage the healing of the action that I have done. And I take on that financial responsibility because it's something that I tell people, here, this is yours. And they're like, huh? What? You give me a bottle of aloe? Yeah, here you go. Take it home. Utilize it if you need it. And if you feel within the next 24 to 48 hours that this is not sufficient, reach out to me, because I'm going to, I don't care if I'm, in Jersey and you're in PA, I'm going to drive out to a mutually designated spot, and I'm going to take care of what I need to take care of, whether that be financially finding burn cream for you, or even, Venmoing you what is necessary to take care of yourself. That is my own personal responsibility that I take on when you are on my table. And it is something that I believe in. It's something I live. To see so many people in this environment be able to mirror that exact same sentiment is incredibly wonderful to see. Skincare, when it comes to the fire community, when it comes to the wax community, it isn't talked about as much when it comes to the wax community. We have wax players here, and I'm sure they would absolutely probably speak up and reinforce. It is incredibly important what your skin condition is before I put wax on you, before I put fire on you, and afterwards as well. We want to make sure that you are taken care of in the best manner. We talked about feeling the skin and understanding that different people have different shades, different melanin within their body. I'm more on the lighter shade than most people are. Absolutely, I catch sunburn. It usually happens right here. It's annoying as hell. And people are like, what? You get sunburn? I'm like, yes, it's always on the tip of my nose. It's always peeling and I hate it. And they're like, oh, that really can't happen. And I'm like, yes, it absolutely can. Understanding that everybody is going to have a different thermic tolerance and their skin is going to react totally different depending on the amount of melanin in their system and what they're used to. There are people who are, as porcelain as they can be, and I love porcelain personally, that have never seen the sun. You put fire on their body, they're going to have an immediate reaction. People who have tanned all their lives, you put fire in their body, they're still going to have the same type of reaction, even if they've tanned all their lives. So UV and heat are two totally different spectrums, and people need to educate themselves and understand how your body and your skin is going to react to those two things. Moisturization is absolutely pivotal. I also practice the same practice as Scorpiana. I will not allow you off my table until you have at least drank half of a bottle of liquid of water. Usually I would like it to be water, but not everybody drinks water. They'll drink their own lemonade or whatever drink that they bring. But if you bring in a water bottle this big, be prepared to drink half of that. So for those who bring in the gallon water bottles and play with me, oh, I'm sadistic. They're like, you want me to drink that much? I'm like, yep. There you go. There we go. So just being cognizant of how your body and your skin reacts to heat and to fire and thermic temperatures is where I would say it's everybody's responsibility. That's that informed consent that we need to continue talking about, but we also have to have personal responsibility. And the personal responsibility on everyone is self-care and care of the people we play with.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love the personal responsibility. And I know we've talked about that in a little bit in the tops panel as well, but I love the way that you approach that and the care that you take with the people that you play. It shows a significantly higher awareness of one, the socioeconomic differences that can be present and some of the privilege that can be associated with that, and the power differentiation that can be present within that. So I really, really appreciate that perspective. It's fantastic. So let's go with Lady Fire Rose and then back to Scorpiana.
Right. Yes, thank you. So piggyback, they are very wonderful with all the information. So I just add a little bit before fire play, usually on a negotiation before, when I spoke with someone, and if they can talk to me ahead of time, I'm gonna ask if they have any play. So I usually want them to be aware if they're gonna have impact play or needles, thing like that, especially affecting the skin. So if they do impact, what kind of impact they're gonna do? Are they just gonna light sensual impact, or the not like heavy or whip?
Yeah.
I usually give the consideration, because fire gonna make them more sensitive on the skin. If we do it after the impact, especially if there's an open wound, that's gonna be not good. It could be very sting, and it's not healthy too, especially, there's a blood, open wound. Of course, that's something that we try to avoid. And also on negotiation, usually ask for the condition of the skin. Do they have like eczema, shingles, or moles that I need to understand? Or is there any surgery, or any wound, open wound again, like maybe scars or something, they just have it, or tattoo that need to be aware too. If they have, especially the new tattoo, like open wound again. And then the condition of the person, like if they have body glitter or there's a body pain, because I once playing with someone, seriously, it's a beautiful black color on this person back. When I was playing, halfway is off. I was like, what's going on? And I saw my fire one is black. So it was a body paint. My fault. I didn't ask him because I thought it was a tattoo, but actually it's a body paint. So I take the risk. I need to clean it, try my best to clean my wound. But I remind the person, like, next time, I apologize. I don't ask that because I never think that someone's gonna have the body painting on the whole back, which is beautiful and looks like tattoo. So that's something that, reminder for us to checking on the bottom. And the other one, I usually like to checking on the next day. For me, again, with, piggyback with everyone here, try our best to have the bottom be on the condition, even better, it's gonna be great, the feeling and everything, but not making them worse. And checking the next day and checking like, hey, is there any, maybe redness or something that you feel that maybe I didn't see it when we were playing after? Let me know. So I usually like to check in. And that's how one of the fact, the thing that I spoke before, that I want to connect with people. And I feel like some people just after play, they just run away. They don't want to know me as person. They don't want to connect me as person because I would like to check in the next day. So those things I think is good for the fire bottom to, remember that not only because the top also want to check in the condition, but also the connection. I think that's fair enough. Like the aftercare is the next day all the way. Like the checking, what is the connection, how you doing, how you feeling, even as a top. If it's nice too, to know that they are in the good condition, they are feeling great, they like what we did, like those stuff, part of the connection, relationship, humanize them again.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Okay, let's go back to Scorpiana real quick.
As a switch, switch. Educating other bottoms is one of my passion pieces, and that kit, that just in case kit is something that I also carry with me when I'm bottoming for fire. So because I'm a firm believer of you have to have some level of personal responsibility, and so I make it my business to make sure that I have the things that I need to take care of myself. Yes, as a responsible top, should you be willing and able to care for your bottom? Yeah, Does that always happen? No.
Mhm.
And so, you know, when I am intending to go out to bottom, I have my bottoming bag, and in it there's all the supplies that someone or myself would need to take care of me. And so really pushing the people to like to take some agency and some responsibility for your care, starting to recognize what do you need. What does a burn look like on you? What does a skin irritation look like on you? What do you need for your aftercare? Are there things that you're allergic to? Are there, you know, burn creams, some of the stuff that they have for sunburns that don't react well for you? Having that knowledge and being prepared to take care of yourself in case of an emergency is key. The other pieces is being aware of what are your options for care, because realistically, if you have a burn bigger than a quarter or in certain areas, you need to seek medical treatment, period, end of discussion. And so what are your options in the area? So I make it my business that in the area that I am in, I know where are the hospitals, where are the urgent care centers, where are the places that I can pay cash if necessary, if someone doesn't have insurance. And just being proactive and responsible about making sure you have that information so that you can either take care of yourself or take care of the person that you're playing with.
I love that. Great points to bring up. And might I also add, that is just like such a green flag for me as a top. I mean, I also switch, but when people come to me prepared to take care of themselves, it doesn't matter whether or not I'm prepared to take care of them. But when they come to me prepared with their own things, having thought about their well-being ahead of time, it's such a green flag. My likelihood of saying yes to playing with them just increased like 100-fold. Like fantastic.
And a lot of that, unfortunately for me, was knowledge gained from don't make the same mistakes I did, kids. Oh boy, have I made some doozy mistakes over the years. I am still here to tell the tale and laugh about it, thankfully. But it's definitely knowledge that I've come over the years to go, yeah, you know what? Maybe there's a better way of handling it than what I just did. Let's not do that again.
You know, at least we have the chance to talk about it and learn from it and try not to make the same mistakes over with things. Because me too, friend. Me too.
Yeah, although I do still use it as fodder to poke one of my good friends during a fire scene. He lit my dress and a very expensive bra on fire by accident. To this day, I still don't let him forget it.
I don't think I would either. Okay, well, I think I will ask one more question because we are technically over time. I know Valkyrie has to pop off, so please, appreciate Valkyrie joining us from across the pond. Thank you so much. I will close out with one final question. Tell me a little bit about who is one person who has made the biggest impact on creating a welcoming and warmly diverse environment in your community, especially for you. And what is it that they've done to create that? And then we will go ahead and say goodbye to our listeners. And if you would like to raise your hand, Lady Fire Rose.
Yes. I would say there's one person in New York community. She's the one who invited me for the ANPHI. I'm sorry. That one I have to be careful, not them backward. Her name is Goddess Narcissa. I think she is great in open community, especially for the Asian community. But overall, because we are New York, we are very diverse. We are pretty open to each other. But I would applaud her for what she tried to make us, especially the POC in New York, to be more listen, especially AA and PHI. Yes, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Dominus J, your turn.
So, but one person I would like to say is not just one person. It's an entity, and that's my fire family, my chosen family. They individually have put forth ideas and concepts and backed them up and reinforced them and shown me a better path together of how to be a better person. And that is what is important to me. It's why they're my family. They make me better. So as an entire entity, they have worked collectively to make me a better a person in the lifestyle. But if I could just nail it down to one person, and I know it sounds corny, my wife. My wife has done more on both aspects, being a submissive to me throughout the years, and then being my partner in education to make me a better person, to always keep me not just focused on the prize, but cognizant of everything around me as well. And she is just phenomenal at it, because I tell her all the time, I could not do and have the perceptions that you always have. And she keeps me as honest as a person can. And that's a hard task. I'm a very arrogant person. I tell people all the time I am. But she has the ability to keep me humble and to show me that personal responsibility is always the foremost thought when she wakes up in the morning. And that's personal responsibility in her life, not just in kink. And she instills that within me. And when we are together as a team, she helps reinforce with me the strengths that I have. And she helps guide me in some of the weaknesses that I have. So she is my ultimate cheerleader and, in a sense, my best mentor.
Thank you so much for sharing. Daddy Blackhammer, we'll go to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna pretty much echo what Dominic said there. My partner for sure is the one that backs me up the most, and any crazy idea that I come up with, or starting new munches or different kink things in the area, she's always behind me 110%. So that would definitely be the person I would go with as well.
Love it. Thank you so much. And Scorpiana.
Good grief, we are a cheesy bunch, but also my fire family.
I love cheesy.
Because coming into the scene and meeting this group, people who mentored me, who supported me, who taught me, who continually back me up and challenge me to be better, and who are my biggest cheerleaders, but also the first people to call me on my bullshit. Again, which is why my house is my chosen family. And Jay's wife is really amazing. She's just awesome. So, yeah, just in general, fantastic human being.
Fantastic. Thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate your insights, appreciate you joining and supporting our panelists. We hope that you will join us live for the live event and check out the on-demand offerings as well. We also are accepting donations to compensate our lovely panelists for their time and expertise today. Be sure to check things out in the link and check us out online. With that being said, thank you so much, and we hope to see you soon.